Hey everyone, it's John Chapman, partner and financial planner at WorthPoint Wealth Management. I'm joined today with my colleague Matt Addington, and we're here today to talk specifically about some financial and non-financial action items that you could be thinking about if you're faced with losing your job or if you've recently lost your job in response to the coronavirus pandemic. So Matt and I were chatting offline about this, and we wanted to be able to really make as big of an impact as we could. For those of you that have lost your job, first of all, our prayers go out to you and your family. This can't be an easy time for you, and we want to make sure that you're making smart decisions. And after you come off of just kind of the emotional impacts of all of that, really make sure that you're doing everything you can to get yourself up and running. So, Matt, talk to us a little bit about some of the non-financial implications or action items someone can be thinking about if they're about to lose their job or if they've just lost their job in response to coronavirus.
Yeah, well, first of all, I would say you're not alone. There are 10 million other people in your same situation right now. And so, number one, don't be embarrassed. I mean, tell your friends about it. Definitely tell your spouse about it, right? Y'all need to be in this together. And the other thing is, your friends are going to be people that can be there to help you network, right? And so, you want to make sure you have as many people in your court as possible that can help you get to that next level or that next career path for you.
Yeah, and that could be hard because there could be a sense of shame or embarrassment, or maybe you even just had a job and you got hired on 6 months ago, 8 months ago, but now everything's changed and maybe you were the last one to join the team and you're the first one to leave. So that could feel maybe embarrassing. But I know of one anecdotal situation where a friend of mine lost his job and he didn't tell anyone for about a week, and he got dressed in his coat and tie and left and went and sat in Starbucks for a week before he could muster up the energy. So, it's hard, but I think telling your spouse, your family, that's important.
Yeah, and it's understandable as well. Another thing I would say is that you want to go ahead and update your resume, right? Update your LinkedIn profile. You want to make sure that you're doing things to help you get to where you want to be. And so what I like to say is your full-time job is now finding a full-time job. Right. So don't sleep until 10 o'clock and, catch up on all your DVR series and all that stuff that you're behind on. It's time to get to work, and the new work is finding new work.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. This is maybe there is a small cooling off period, but you need to be in overdrive and thinking about this is a good chance to push pause. And maybe you were in a job and maybe weren't clear at some parts of what the end goal is. So now whether or not you like it or not, you kind of are forced to step back and say, why? Why am I in the industry or sector that I'm in? Why am I in a operations role versus a sales role or vice versa? And so you can actually do some deep thinking about where you'd want to be. And actually, I've got an idea just in regards to the non-financial action items. It's talking to mentors. What if there's somebody that's exactly where you want to be, but that's ahead of you, and maybe in 5 years you'd like to mimic that person? Well, now is a great opportunity to reach out to them and just talk to them more about the things, the struggles that they've been through, how they've gotten to where they've been. And I think the mentorship opportunities right now are probably really high.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I would also say, reach out to the pastors at your church if you're part of a church congregation, friends at your church that can help you. And they'll tell you, first of all, take a deep breath. It's gonna be okay, right? But it's great to have spiritual advisors there that can help you along that path as well. I think if you can be at peace inside, that's going to reflect and help you not just be, spasmodic when you're looking for everything. You're going to be calm and make good decisions.
Man, it's hard to be calm when everything in your body might be burning.
That's right.
Yeah, but even just saying that, maybe, just taking a walk, doing some exercise, praying for a little bit. You're right. Talking to a pastor, if you're part of a good church or maybe the Bible study, I think that's super important.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Matt, let's switch gears and talk a little bit about some of the financial implications, and just what do you even start with when you've lost a job? Speaking financially, where do you go to think about how to make sure that you are securing all of your finances?
Yeah, yeah. Well, number one, I would say you need to review your budget, right? Most people these days don't have a budget, right? But it's important to do that. You really need to understand what those fixed costs are in your monthly expenditures. And again, that might be easier to think about than to actually do because we have a lot of things on auto draft these days. So, print out some statements, go through them, the credit card statement, your bank statement. Take a look at all of those expenses that come out, and there are going to be some things that you can cut back on. I mean, one of the easiest things to cut back on right now, dining out, right? You can eat at home and make sure, and first of all, it's probably healthier for you, and number two, it's going to be less expensive. Entertainment, probably something you could cut back on right now. We're kind of confined to the house, and you're not going to be going out watching a bunch of movies right now, right? So those are a couple of things that you could do, but there are other items that you can take a look at in your budget to make sure that things are progressing accordingly, and maybe some things that you could cut out.
And no one really likes to budget. I know very few people who actually keep a month by month budget that's reconciled. So I recognize that. I've got two hacks that might be able to assist you in this. And the first is just being realistic about what you spend on a monthly basis. And I want to give an example. Somebody that works a corporate job that makes about $100,000, after you put in money for your 401k, you pay for your medical premiums, and you pay taxes, you usually only ever see around, let's say, 60% of your gross pay. And so that $60,000 is just $5,000. I'm going to edit this out. What is that per month?
60,000 is $5,000 a month. Well, it's good to know that you can edit in the middle of it.
Yeah, good thing that people can see that I had a brain fart in real life. So yeah, it's $5,000 a month per paycheck. That's $2,500. So in many cases in the past, when I'm having conversations with prospects or clients, or but when I'm talking to clients, they'll say that their expenses are maybe around $2,000 to $3,000, but somehow the other money is just also disappearing. It's not ending up in their savings account, and that's because it's probably going towards discretionary things, or maybe it doesn't happen. Right. Those expenses don't happen exactly on a month by month basis, but maybe you go on a trip, or there's a repair on the car, and so I think the point is just look at your most recent net paychecks and assume that you spend all of that money. And the reason why that's important is because then you can use that as your bogey to calculate how much cash you're going to need after, let's say, unemployment runs out, or to supplement unemployment. And then you can see what your cash burn is going to be, so to speak, and how many months you have before the hits the fan. So I think just looking realistically about what you're spending. One other quick hack that I've heard from someone else is if you've got auto pay on a lot of these subscription services, calling your bank and asking them to send new debit and credit cards. And what that does is it might disrupt the payment system. So those, that $14 here or there might get stopped, and you'll get an email from that service. And you can certainly choose to continue on that, but maybe the disruption of a new card number helps and at least brings that to light. So
that's
Matt, let's talk about a little bit more of the financial implications. Let's assume that somebody knows what their net income was and what their cash burn is. Are there any other financial considerations they should be thinking about?
Yeah. I mean, I think another big thing is looking at filing for unemployment. And the thing is, right now, I mean, the government has done a lot of things to make that easier, or to cover more people. You may think, well, I'm self-employed, or I do just kind of some sporadic work here and there. And there are actually some benefits that you can actually apply for now. And let's just say you didn't qualify for them. It's not going to hurt you to file for it anyways and take a look at it. So, but I would also say a couple of things there. Number one, you want to do that as quickly as possible. There are, again, 10 million people looking to do the same thing. And so you're going to want to do that online, right? They're going to be shut down as far as you being able to go into a brick and mortar location. So go to your state's Department of Labor website and go ahead and take a look at the unemployment benefits that could be, helping you out there.
Yeah. A couple other things that I'm thinking about too. One is just insurance benefits, both health insurance and then
Hmm.
life insurance. And, with health insurance, you may be able to opt into Cobra and keeping some of that, existing health insurance coverage available. Of course, your premiums are going to be much higher, but that's something that you'll need to call your benefits team about and make sure that you can get set up with your previous insurer, assuming that you want to do that, or just weighing out, where do you buy insurance from, health insurance. And then the other thing is for life insurance. I think that most people, when they go through annual enrollment, they just set up for the default amount of life insurance. But man, if you're going to be out of work for any period of time, and especially if you've got kids at home, now is not the time to be underinsured. In case a worst case scenario happens and you're no longer with your family and able to support them. So while I'm not necessarily a life insurance agent, it's just something that I have to, as a dad of three, and you too, I just have to
Yeah.
advocate for people being really vigilant about being on top of their life insurance and not just going with the defaults from their past annual enrollments, because this bridge and
Right.
employment, it's going to take away whatever you had, and you're going to be left with potentially a big life insurance gap.
Yeah, that's a good point. And to add on to your healthcare example, you may think that your only option is Cobra. Cobra is, as you said, very expensive. You can do that for up to 18 months, but there are other ideas you could have as well. Number one, if your spouse works, you may think, well, it's not open enrollment. Well, this is a qualifying event that would allow you to actually go on to your spouse's
Great point.
medical coverage, right? And if all else fails, there is the exchange that you can go out and potentially get coverage there. And it could potentially be less expensive if your income is significantly reduced, right? So those are a couple of other ideas on the healthcare side that you could take a look at as well.
I want to note a couple of things from an investment standpoint. Maybe we can talk a little bit about retirement accounts. But for me, I know I work with a lot of people that are at both private and public companies, but they get some form of equity compensation as part of their overall package. And a couple of important things, which you may hopefully already know. But the first thing is, if you've got any type of equity, you need to take action ASAP to ensure that you're getting the most of that as possible coming with you. If you have unexercised options, then you only have a 90-day window from the time that you leave your employer to actually go and buy or exercise those options. Otherwise, that money can completely evaporate. So you are really under the gun if you have unexercised stock. If you've got exercised stock, that can stay with you. For RSUs, usually you're only going to ever get a prorated portion of what has vested up until this time. So again, there might be some money that's clawed back from what you might have previously seen on your statement. So again, just important reminder to you really got to stay on top of that equity compensation. Matt, are there any other things you could think about with your retirement or investment accounts after you leave your job?
No, that's pretty much it. I would say, reach out to your financial planner here at WorthPoint. If you have questions on that, we'd be happy to, take those on a case-by-case basis as well.
Right on. Well, we've covered a ton, both non-financial and financial action items for you. Matt, I appreciate your time and expertise. And for the folks that are out there, we'd love to hear from you, regardless of your situation. We're praying that your family is healthy and safe and that you make it through this coronavirus pandemic safely. And we'll see you again next time.
Take care.